Hello, everybody. Evidence here. This is G-Man, educating us about education.
All right. So there's various different ways that you and I can become educated on a given topic. We can become educated in biology, psychology, physics, math, biology, chemistry, English lit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can become educated in any topic. You can become biblically literate by actually going to seminary and or sitting down and self-educating yourself on how to interpret the Bible or something like that. You can get educated on learning a particular trade. But the point of the matter is that when you get educated, whether it's through book smarts to become something that where you're going to work in an office or you're going to get into some professional field, let's say you want to be a carpenter, a pharmacist, a teacher, construction worker, or a scientist or something like that. You have to be trained to be one of those things. You have to become informed on certain things in order to take on one of those positions. That's why I think that we are supposed to get educated.
I agree. Education is a good thing.
So that we can understand the world that we're living in, so we can learn how to socialize with one another. Because there's a lot of people out there who are not educated on social sciences and don't got the foggiest idea on how to interact with other people.
Oh, the irony.
There are people who are not educated in science, and those people don't know how to admit when something is science and when something is not science. There are those of us who know a little bit about science, know a little bit about faith, and we certainly can learn more, but we know the difference between the two, between science and faith.
Let's hear the difference between science and faith.
You know what I mean? And we know the difference between how to prove something through observation and experimentation versus just believing because somebody said it to you.
That was a good explanation. Science is observation and experimentation. Faith is largely what you've been told.
You know what I mean? We got a lot of problems with the way people are being educated today. Because some people believe that they're supposed to be, okay, let me change a previous statement that I made so I can keep my thoughts a certain way. We had a problem with the way people are being educated today, and we have a problem with what people are doing with their education today. Let me explain. The way we are presently being educated here in the United States of America, I don't know about the rest of the world, but the way we are presently being educated here in America is that we're just told to memorize some stuff and write things down. We're not necessarily encouraged to really give any real thought about what it is that we're being taught. And I'm not saying that this is true in all schools, but I would say this is definitely true in our public school systems. And I'm sorry, in our public school system.
That's sad if it's true. You should always ask questions and be skeptical if you ask me.
A person will go to school and learn that evolution is the best way to understand a diversity of life without them being encouraged to think about whether or not that theory is actually true or not.
The theory is true, otherwise it wouldn't be taught as fact.
Or if the claim that it is the best way to understand the diversity of life is actually true.
It is true. It's a scientific fact. It's the only theory that can explain the diversity of life.
There was a time in our history when we were encouraged to do these kind of things. This is called critical thinking, by the way. But when people aren't really encouraged to do that no more in our public school systems. Now, if you go to a private school or if you go to a Catholic school or something like that, where the parents have to actually pay for the education and it's not done with tax dollars and whatnot.
If it's true that you get a better education in a Catholic school than in a public school, you have serious problems in America.
You know what I mean? You're more likely, or you can go to a private school or whatever, you're likely to get a better education than you would if you went to a public school or whatever. Because our public schools are producing some horrible people these days. I'm sorry. Absolutely horrible people.
Again, that's sad.
But the way people are being taught is just take my word for it.
I find it very hard to believe that all teachers in America just fill you with information and that's it. Off you go to work. What happens if you stumble upon a different problem in real life? Don't you understand how to build a house if your boss exchanges your hammer with a nail gun?
You know what I mean? And that's not the way it's supposed to be. Just because your philosophy teacher tells you that there is no God doesn't make it true. Just like your science teacher is telling you that evolution is the best way to understand the diversity of life. That is not true.
What kind of education system do you have in America if your teachers deliberately tell you to believe a lie as a fact?
A person who is really educated knows the whole story.
I agree. The more you know about a topic, the better.
They understand that this is very political.
Education should not be political. A squared plus B squared equals C squared in a right triangle. This is true even if Trump runs the country.
And that you have people out there that don't want the other theories taught in school. See,
Wait, what other theories?
if a person is truly educated on the best way to understand the diversity of life, they know about the claim of evolution.
So evolution is a claim now. All other subjects in school is true and you agree that it is a good thing to get educated. But evolution suddenly is just a claim?
They know about the other claims that are out there, like creation science or something like intelligent design.
Creation science is proven pseudoscience by a court of law, and intelligent design is creation science in disguise. Not really something you want to teach your kids alongside scientific facts, is it?
You know what I mean? A person who is truly educated would know the two things, but because we have so much, we have so many agendas going on in our educational system today. People are being programmed and almost being bred to become humanists or to become naturalists when they come out of school.
Humanism is a philosophical and ethical stance that emphasizes the value and agency of human beings, individually and collectively, and generally prefers critical thinking and evidence over acceptance of dogma and superstition. Naturalism holds the idea that only natural laws and forces operate in the world. This we know is true. We cannot say anything about the supernatural world.
They come out of school saying, I'm too educated to believe that a God exists. Well, tell that to a guy like William Lane Craig, a guy who has a guy who has a PhD.
Usually people have a good reason not to believe in God. If a person says he's too educated to believe in God without giving any reasons to hold that view, that person is not trustworthy and probably lying about how educated he is.
Go tell that to some of these other people out there who happen to be religious, who are responsible for a lot of the inventions that we have for today. What, they wasn't educated?
You can be educated and believe in God. No one negates this.
Yet they believe that a God or the Christian God actually existed. You know what I mean? Some of them believe in an intelligent designer. And I think the way we have to fix this in our public school system is to get more involved in our children when they're doing their homework, asking them, what were you taught today, particularly in science or history and English lit or whatever? What were you taught about our history here in the United States? Like, get involved with what your children is actually being taught in school.
Ah, there it is.
Because believe it or not, despite what the teachers say at the school, despite what you may hear from people in authority, you have more influence over your child than the teacher does.
Yes, we see that in some homeschooling.
Providing that you are actually getting involved with your child's, his homework, what he does for fun, who his friends are, who they're listening to, who's an influence or whatever.
You want to control children's homework, what they do for fun, who their friends are, who they are listening to, and who they're influenced by.
All right. Some people are using education to force your children to accept a political position that they never asked for, or to accept a way of thinking that they never asked for. That's the reason why they want evolution taught to your children.
That makes no sense whatsoever. Evolution is a scientific fact. There is nothing political about it. And even if it was, it's still true. You rather want children not to learn what we know is true and believe in something we do not know if it's true. Really?
They want evolution taught to your children because they want to get them at a very young age to get them to believe that there is no God.
Evolution makes no statements regarding any God. There are millions of religious people who accept evolution to prove you are wrong.
They want them to believe in the Big Bang Theory because they reason in their minds that if you can show a child that we understand the natural world, then that automatically means there's no supernatural world.
That doesn't follow at all. You talked about William Lane Craig earlier. He accepts both evolution and the Big Bang, proving you wrong again. I think we end the stupidity here after 8 minutes and 25 seconds. G-Man's view about education is that everything the teachers tell you is correct, unless it contradicts your literal interpretation of the Bible. If science tells you something that is not in the Bible, you should hide that fact from the children. This is not education. This is indoctrination. That's all, folks. Take care.